So we're joined by our first guest in person today, who is Doug Hyde of Satmia and the Ayurvedic Botanical Sanctuary up at Dronnagary, just outside Fecal. I've known Doug for a long time, since he and Yvette were working in their first premises in Satmia. So it's lovely to reconnect, Doug, and to meet with you this morning.
Nice to be here too, PA.
Would you tell us about the development of Satmia, and while you're at it, would you explain to our listeners, and to myself indeed, what the Ayurvedic tradition of medicine is?
Okay, so we first started Satmia, it's almost, 18, 19 years now in Killaloe. And we moved out then to our place in Fecal about 4 years ago. Ayurveda itself it's arguably the oldest traditional medicine system that there is. Earliest written evidence would be about 5,000 years ago, but we were taught as an oral tradition, kind of stretches the mind, but it goes back about 45,000 years. And I guess there's an awful lot of it that stretches the mind in the sense that like modern medicine would look at the Hippocrates kind of dynamic. Lots of other different influences as well. But even like the Hippocratic Oath of like, don't do anything to harm people. Yes. That's obviously being challenged these days too with, assisted suicide and things like that. But so modern medicine would look to the Greeks, we'll say, as some of the origins of medicine. But the Greeks then would have looked further east, so which is where India would have come into it. And all the modern kind of modalities that you have, be it Chinese medicine or homeopathy or even herbal medicine, an awful lot of them take the understanding or kind of origin of thought from a lot of the chapters in the Ayurvedic texts. And modern science is just proving, we'll say, over time that these ancient understandings that we now realise how important they were, like the concept of the colon. Up until about 10 years ago, they thought that the colon just dried stool. Whereas Ayurvedically, we knew that the colon was arguably the most important part of the body, like the second brain. So like your nervous system, your immune system, everything was kind of governed by the health of your colon. So they knew that thousands of years ago, but modern science has just discovered that new world of microbiome, and whether it's cancer or immunity or whatever, it's like your gut health is extremely important.
I remember talking to Pauline Scanlon, who's from this parish. She has PhD. She's lectures in UCC. But she was telling us, I think PA, you were with me as well, that there are more bugs in our gut than there are stars in the universe.
It is. It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
And I suppose the magic of the human individual then is that you literally will have trillions of cells doing different jobs, but yet when you're in balance, they all work together, and we're not conscious of any of it. We're literally conscious of walking or moving or something, but all the activities of the body are just going on without our awareness. And it's arguably when we just step out of balance through stress or just routine or whatever, that these cells then can just start to get a little bit haywire. And I guess that's what the traditional aspect of Ayurveda does, in that it's a holistic medicine. So it looks at your diet, your lifestyle, your bodily constitution, which is like, are you naturally fiery, are you naturally earthy, or naturally airy or creative, that you can have different things that suit you or that don't suit you.
So was that diet related, Doug?
A lot of it, yes. But also even we'll say like let's say you're a head chef who's like fiery by nature, that you want to get your Michelin stars, and then you're working in a very intense hot environment, and then you love chili peppers, and then you drive like a red kind of fancy car, you're just seeing heat. So all of a sudden when they get like a gastric ulcer, for us that's not a surprise, because it's just intensity all over. So they need to cool down in many ways, from the type of job, to the colours, to the type of food that they're eating. So you just need to reduce heat and intensity, instead of just going, here's an antacid for you.
Yeah.
And
dare I
you
say,
go.
very often smell the roses.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely, and especially for this season as well,
because
people tend to do the opposite. They're doing triathlons and loads of stuff, and everything is a bit haywire, whereas they do need to just relax, like the kind of siesta concept of take it easy in the hot months, instead of stripping off, getting sunburnt and going out and hitting the beer. They're all the kind of wrong things to do in many ways.
Everything in moderation.
That's it, exactly.
But also the sounds like it's a real, what's interesting about it is it seems to be that you need to integrate all aspects of your living to be living according to the Ayurvedic tradition.
Completely.
Yeah.
And I guess that would be one of the merits of the holistic science of it, that if you, and I'm not saying the other modalities aren't good, of course they're extremely helpful, but we'll say if you just go and get reflexology and they don't understand about what your diet or what your lifestyle is like, then you have just one avenue to help someone. But if you were going back on the beer 5 nights a week, your condition mightn't improve that well. So you have to try and tackle many things about a person to try and guarantee or to put a circle around them so that there's no chance for the illness to escape.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you're hitting the body and the mind and the diet, the lifestyle, therapies, medicines, the whole lot kind of combined.
So typically, if a person comes to you looking for answers to what's going on with them, what kind of I suppose treatments, or how do you deal with that? What can somebody feel they're being offered from your tradition of medicine?
So if you have a little bit more time with them, then you'll get a lot more information and you can make a greater plan. So that's ideally like with a consultation. If you have limited time, like if someone calls up over the phone and you just have like 10 minutes to chat, you're kind of finding it difficult. Let's say, for example, someone says, I'm suffering from, sweats with the menopause. You're like, okay, you could look at what's the stool like, what's the digestion like, what are the anxiety levels like, instead of just giving, we'll say, a hormone regulator or an endocrine regulator or an adrenal tonic is what we might say. So you could just give your kind of symptom prescription way, which is kind of what modern medicine looks like. But that individual could be quite different from another individual suffering from the same symptom. So often we don't just treat the illness, we treat the person. And in a consultation then you can go into a little bit more detail. Like if you pass stool once a week or if you pass stool 5 times a day, they're things that you need to tidy up because you're not going to be functioning that well if that's the case. And usually then whatever condition you're suffering from will improve, because you're coming into balance. So the medicine and treating the condition, you don't ignore it, but it's kind of in the background. You're looking at what's going on with the person. And that's in a consultation then. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of treating, it's like we're all cars, but we're different types of cars.
Different engines.
Different engines.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the personality then as well too, as to what lifestyle or therapies as well might suit an individual. Because some people who are hotter by nature might need cooling. So you might use like cooling oils or cooling therapies or cleanses to like the liver area. Whereas other people then who are a bit more ungrounded or scatty and all over the place, they might need more warmth and soothing and lubricating.
That's
so you
very
treat them
interesting.
slightly differently then.
So thinking about now how you've developed Satmaya over time, one of the things I know you're offering is a diploma in Ayurvedic medicine. So it's like you've opened your own private college, as we were just saying.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us about the diploma course and what people can get from studying with you?
Okay, so generally speaking, we'll say what I do for a living, people will be able to do it as well, in the sense of they'll be able to do consultations, prescribe herbs, dietary lifestyle advice, and also to be able to administer therapies like head massages, full body massage, Shirodhara, all those types of therapies as well. So it's a 2-year diploma. And in the first year, a lot of the students kind of focus on themselves a little bit. They're learning through their own kind of lenses as to what's going to be beneficial for them. And they're trying to get themselves in balance from Ayurvedic kind of understanding. And then towards the second year then, you're looking at diagnostics, herbal prescriptions, doing a case study, how to actually do consultations. So you're kind of looking at the practitioner aspect of it then more towards the second half of the course.
So this first year is really about focusing on, I suppose, learning by doing, learning by living the life in a way.
Yeah, it is. And we get the students doing that, we'll say, even like with their diary, that they're looking at their own digestion, their own elimination, their own sleep pattern, their own stress levels and how their mind works. And they're understanding their body type. And also, that's the easiest way to kind of learn. And when that goes out of balance, how to try and pull it back in. then you're kind of looking at family and friends as well as clients towards the latter part of the course then.
Yeah, because you need a few willing victims.
You totally do.
Trying to spread the gospel a little, is it? Yeah.
Although it's hard with family members.
So there's an old saying, the prophet is never recognised in his own land. He's about to be recognised in his own family either. Is it?
True. Someone else has to tell them.
Yeah.
And now that I remember seeing a video some time ago about that you'd built your own home from sustainable materials and all that, and you've now built, I think, a series of cabins for people.
That's correct.
Am I right about that?
Yeah. So
tell us about that. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, we ended up. So we were going to build our new premises after we moved out to Killaloo, and we got turned on to the concept of straw walls. We'd say so. They're like prefabricated straw panels, and that was a very interesting kind of a project to get involved in, because it's just wood and straw, and it's clay then, and breathable materials all around it.
And natural materials, yeah.
Completely, yeah. And completely warm. It has a beautiful kind of a feeling inside in the building.
Yeah. And did you make all those panels yourself, or did you just...
No, so they were prefabbed over in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
There was a guy from Limerick who works with the company that we got in touch with. Yeah. And they're doing it all across Europe and the world. Yeah. So, we got those panels shipped in. And the walls literally went up in about a day and a half. The windows then came in the next day, put up the roof trusses, put a membrane around, then the metal was put on. So we literally had the walls, windows, roof done in about 5 or 6 days, which, from a kind of a modular building point of view, it's an ideal.
And what size would those units be?
So they're like 800 wide, like nearly a metre, and they were like 2.4 metres high then, or 3 metres. And they're just like large Lego pieces then that are literally just screwed together.
But the buildings, the cabins, the finish, how many square metres have you?
So the cabins themselves then, so they have the same straw walls that we got last year. They were made off-site and shipped over from Sofia in Bulgaria. They're 7 metres by 3 metres, and that's where people are staying in now, in the cabins with the same straw walls.
And you could scale up, people are talking about the cost of building, you could nearly scale up to something 40, 50 square metres, that'd be it?
You can, you can link them
decent
up.
granny flatter?
Yes.
Decent working space or something?
Totally, yeah.
And so I think you've got the cabins equipped for people to be as self-sufficient, if you like, as they want to be.
Completely, yeah. So this morning now, Yvette was up just refilling all the spice jars for a person who's coming in today to do like a solo retreat. So all the recipes are there to like kind of make the breakfast, lunch and dinner. All the ingredients, from apples, stewed apples, or spuds and greens for cooking up lunch. So they're all prepared then, ready to go for the person who's coming in today for their few days.
Do you grow a lot of that?
We do, yeah. Ideally, we'd like to grow a bit more. But it's just getting the balance with getting the time to be able to scale up. But we do have a handful of things. And right next to the cabins as well, we have some herbs and some like salads just growing outside the door that people can just take.
Gosh, that's amazing.
We'll have to do a few more raised beds that we can get some other veg kind of going throughout the year that they can access then too.
And what about showers, woodland showers? I think I saw something about that.
Yeah, there's a cold water shower that's up next to the sauna and the hot tub. So we'll call it a thermal experience, that people will be up there for the few hours, kind of going in between the hot tub, the cold water, or into the sauna for like 15, 20 minutes at a time. So,
and how many guests can you take at a time?
So each cabin can accommodate 3 people. So that could be like from a solo to like a couple, or a couple with a child or something like that. But technically it could be 4. It could be 2 adults in a double bed, and then we have a bunk bed as well, which adults can fit into. So we just put the height of the bunk bed up, so if you're sitting reading, you won't be having your head hitting the wood on the bunk above you.
Sounds terrific, yeah. And if people wanted to find out more about this, Doug, and get in touch about the cabins, or indeed treatments or anything else, where would they contact you?
Okay, so for the cabins and for accommodation, the website is dronagiri.ie. We're also on Instagram or on Facebook.
You spell that? Is it phonetically D-R-O-N-A?
D-R-O-N-A-G-I-R-I, yeah. So Dronagiri would be from one of the Indian epics to do with the Ramayana.
I thought it might be Townsland up around Landry or something.
It might be, almost.
That's what I was going to ask.
So yeah, it's like the land of like herbs and flowers.
Lovely.
So it's like a mountain in one of the old stories. And our business website then for the therapies and consultations, that's satmya.ie.
S-A-T-Y-M-A.
S-A-T-M-Y-A.
Oh, M-Y-A. Oh.
And Satmaya itself, what does that word mean?
It's a Sanskrit word that means gradual adaptation. So it's like wholesome changes, but done gradually. And that has a kind of a common across the board thing that if you're making any changes, whether it's, couch to 5K, like if you do want to do a marathon, you do have to do it gradually. And that's the same, like if you want to become an alcoholic, you can't do it overnight. You got to scale up to be able to drink a litre a day.
Some people seem to manage it fairly quickly.
Well, and this is the individual aspect that I'm talking about. But the same then if you're trying to give up, ideally you don't stop and do cold turkey. You have to try and wind down and support the body in that process. Mm-hmm. So that's the idea of, we'll say, integrating something new into a routine, or trying to give up old patterns. You try and do it like giving up cigarettes. You try and support things gradually, because if you stop things too soon, it's a shock to the system.
Doug, tell us a little bit about yourself now, and where you came from.
I came from Shannon originally.
Oh, yeah.
Both my parents are from Cork.
Yes.
And I went to college in UCG and ended up going to the States then on a swimming scholarship for a few years. So I did competitive swimming for about 20 years.
Really?
So that was my early life, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And came back for a couple of years and then decided to study Ayurveda then in Australia. So went off and studied there for 4 years and came back and set up our clinic then with my wife Yvette, who's a naturopath. So we've been living in East Clare then for the last 18 years. And here we are now today.
So in a way you've come full circle.
Totally,
You're back in Clare, yeah. Mm.
And it's nice too, because sometimes you have to go away to appreciate what you have.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
Absolutely.
Great, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Doug, it's been great talking to you again, and I'd just like to say the very best of luck with everything that's going on. By the way, just on the subject of your course, I noticed that you take about 8 to 12 students a year.
Yes.
And I think the start date for this year's course is the 18th of September.
That's correct, yeah.
So is there still time for people to apply
There
to
is,
you?
yeah. We still have some spaces available. And it's the 18th of September that the course kicks off.
And so would they go through the business website to make the application?
Yes,
to
they
you?
can, yeah, satmia.ie. Yeah, they can get in touch with us there with a phone or email, and we can send them out the details.
Well, that's fantastic. So look forward to hearing, more stories about how it all develops.
Indeed.
And hope you'll bring a blessing with you from the business to us today.
Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Doug.
Doug, PA was asking you, I think in the last year or two, a favourite piece of music.
Oh, yes, yeah.
When I was asked the question, I was like, oh my God, where do I begin? And then the kids were around and we were talking about it. And eventually we steered ourselves over towards Styx, a band from the 80s. I guess the kids are so heavily involved in the 1980s at this stage. They must think it was like the heyday,
It's amazing, with the things that we thought in our youth. Our kids have come back and see us. One of my lads is big into the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is kind of crazy.
It is.
My young fella the other day, he said, "Geez, I wish I grew up in the 80s." With Stranger Things and stuff like that. It's been hyped up to be like such a beacon of. I mean, in many ways, maybe it was. It was just great creation going on. But yeah, it was "Come Sail Away" was what we talked about.
Yeah. Well, Doug, my part has been an absolute pleasure having you here. And your story is fascinating, and what the work you do is fascinating. And there has to be room for that. You can't beat nature in lots of ways, can you?
No, and I think people are appreciating that more. That they're getting disconnected more and more, and they do have to.
And don't forget, I always say, big pharma. They're not always interested in curing disease, are they?
No, it's not a good business model.
And then look at a spreadsheet. It's what's down in the bottom right-hand corner, the balance sheet. That's the one.
It is. It's kind of incredible that they're happy just to pay out, like the recent Johnson & Johnson kind of thing. That it's billions they paid out to 69,000 claimants, I think, and they're just happy to write it off.
And some of the big companies that are establishing in Limerick and in Cork as well. Billions going
it is. It's a behemoth.
Big business,
And they do structure an awful lot of things around them, and laws and regulations.
Yes. So there's still a place for your type of medicine.
Indeed.
The old, isn't it?
There always will.
No point in throwing it out just yet, is there?
No.
It's I think the key thing is the listening and to what the person visiting is saying to you.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the trouble with modern medicine. You're lucky to get 15 minutes of somebody's time at the outside, and you've got to wait, 2 weeks minimum for an appointment.
That's very true. These days it is getting much more difficult.
Yeah.
I think doctors, they are under an awful lot of pressure to get a result within 12-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas I suppose we have a different remit in that we will give the person the time to listen to them. Because sometimes the best piece of advice could be, you need to leave your partner. you need to leave that job. You need to move house.
Yeah.
Do you know? Because there could be like the biggest health implications that they have. But the doctor is just looking at like, what can I give them? And it's usually a prescription, unfortunately, because as you say, they don't have that much time to listen. Do you know?
And it's a one-size-fits-all sometimes as well.
It is, yeah, unfortunately.
There's an old saying, apart from you listen to the person, but the person themselves should listen to their own body, I suppose.
Yeah, like in many ways we're also like a mirror, like a sounding board.
Yeah.
Because they'll say something to you that they hadn't voiced before.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel tired, or I don't like that. Or, do you know what, maybe peeing in the middle of the night 4 times isn't so good, even though everyone thinks I should be drinking loads of water. So they're kind of listening to themselves saying it, and you're like, yeah you're right.
I sometimes say about that water is awful severe on the kidneys.
I could spend another whole session talking about overhydration and the plague that it is in our modern society. Oh, completely. I'd say about 80% of the people I see are drinking way too much, peeing way too much, not sweating enough a lot of the time, and their electrolytes are out of balance, and all type 2 preclinical diabetes are all the symptoms they're exhibiting. Banjaxed by water.
Whoa, isn't that interesting?
We can't live without it, and yet it could kill us, I suppose.
Well, there's a good Ayurvedic phrase that there's only 3 ways of getting sick: doing too much of something, not doing enough of it, or doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And that's everything from food to exercise to indulgences.
Well, Doug Hyde, it's been a pleasure having you, and we'll go over to Sticks and come sail away.
Thanks, Doug. That was lovely.